the fruit of patience.
Patience, 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 follow me. In everything I do, Lord, give it unto me.
All we pray is for a blessed festive season and a fruitful year, 2026. Merry Christmas.
Karis, niaje man? Mwanze niokole punch hapo, mwanze nifanye deal fulani hapa na kurudisha in 2 hours.
Haina noma bro, nipatia 1 hour, nimalize ma 1-2 na kutumia.
1 hour? Game inaanza saa hii in 15 minutes bana. 1 hour ni too long. Niokole manze.
Brother, hadi game inakucheza sasa. Hadi unakopa float. Kwani kuwekelea ni lazima?
Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na Association of Gaming Operators Kenya kwa ushirikiano na Gambling Regulatory Authority. Ni kwa walio zaidi ya miaka 18.
Kuja twende sehemu zile za historia, tuone maajabu, tusahau kila tabu, tupige picha zitatesa sana watu. Kenya ni raha tupu, mimi ninakwambia, kila kona ni maarufu, utapafurahia. Panda Jumatatu hata Jumatatu, tupige picha
good evening. As we come up on air with all the day's breaking news, tonight President William Ruto is defending his infrastructure fund, saying this is expected to turbocharge Kenya's economy. And there is good news for slum dwellers. The government has grand plans for you. You're watching the Prime Edition with me, O'Brien Kimani. We are live from Broadcasting House, and we have our big interview at Mukuru Affordable Housing Project, where President William Ruto has just opened the second phase of the grand project. John Jacob Curia will be joining us from that location to give us more insights and update on what's happening there. We have our highlights which are coming up next, and thereafter we have more in store for you. The first wild flight has already taken off. President Ruto dismisses his detractors as naysayers. Fires of death. One dead, 5 others seriously injured after a fire broke out at a mattress making factory in Makongeni area, Thika town. Fair Thewell Judge. Supreme Court Judge Mohammed Ibrahim interred at Kariakor Muslim Cemetery in Nairobi. Many thanks for joining us tonight. Anne Wangeshi is our sign language interpreter. President William Ruto has defended his first world narrative, saying it's not a departure from the bottom-up economic agenda, but rather a continuation. While presiding over the International Minorities' Rights Day at State House, the head of state slammed his critics, telling them to stop what he termed as political rhetoric and instead present the agenda to Kenyans. Giverson Minor has the report.
President William Ruto on Thursday revisited his pre-election hustler narrative and the bottom-up economic agenda.
Unajua tuko na watu wanaongea maneno mingi. Sijui Ruto amewacha bottom-up, sijui ameenda, sijui Singapore.
The president said the new First World Economic Agenda was a continuation of the bottom-up economic agenda.
Mimi nataka niwaambie, this is a continuation. We are lifting everybody from the bottom so that together we can charge forward into economic freedom and a first world country. And that is why we have a comprehensive plan on how to take Kenya forward.
This comes after the opposition figures say the hustler narrative was no longer sellable, and hence the creation of another narrative for the sake of the 2027 general elections.
If the only plan you are walking around with is how to share a non-existent government, I don't know, 40% to this character, 20% to that character. Kwani nyinyi mnafikiri sisi ni wajinga kiasi gani? Ati serikali ni yenu, watu mmeketi chini kwa hoteli watu 10. Ati mtagawa serikali na sisi mamilioni hawa, serikali yetu iko wapi?
The commander-in-chief accusing the opposition of spewing divisive and political rhetoric rather than presenting the agenda for the nation.
Lakini wale majamaa vile nimewaona, sera hawana, mpango hawana, maono hawana, agenda hawana.
In the journey to achieving economic freedom akin to Singapore, the president said his administration had to make a bold decision of creating a national infrastructure fund that is targeted to collect 5 trillion shillings for development programs.
We are rolling out a 5 trillion shilling program because if we continue at the rate at which we have been continuing for the last 60 years, this country will continue to lag behind. Hatutaweza kufika mahali nchi zingine zimefika. We must change our planning. We must change our development model. and we must do new things in different ways for us to be able to get Kenya where we want to go.
The head of state spoke while presiding over the International Minorities Rights Day at State House, Nairobi. Giverson Minor, Prime Edition.
Still on President Ruto, where President William Ruto has launched a comprehensive 10-year policy aimed at safeguarding the rights and dignity of Kenya's ethnic minorities and indigenous peoples. Addressing over 5,000 community leaders and representatives, the head of state unveiled the national policy on ethnic minorities and indigenous and marginalized communities 2025-2035, describing it as a transformative blueprint that shifts the country from a recognition of minority rights to concrete action.
Thursday at State House, Nairobi. The annual celebrations of Minorities' Rights Day is on, with all the 58 minority communities represented. Here, they showcase their cultural aspects through music and dance. At the event, President Ruto acknowledged that while the 2010 Constitution provides for affirmative action under Article 56, the commitments have for years lacked a clear and enforceable framework. The minority communities say for a long time they have allegedly been sidelined, but this is about to change.
Today, I am pleased to announce that the Cabinet has approved the National Policy on Ethnic Minorities, Indigenous and Marginalized Communities.
Wapi makofi ya kumpigia rais, na tunaiona pale launch of the National Policy on Ethnic Minorities and Marginalized Communities. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Rais.
The newly launched policy establishes a Minorities and Marginalized Communities Directorate within the Executive Office of the President and lays the groundwork for the creation of a National Council to be anchored through upcoming legislation.
Kuanzia sasa tutaweka hazina maalum ya milioni 500 kila mwaka ya kusaidia watoto kutoka jamii ya wachache, kutoka jamii marginalized, katika bursaries ya shule, katika bursaries ya college na bursaries ya university, ndio tuweze kuhakikisha kwamba hakuna mtoto wa Kenya anaachwa nyuma kwa sababu anatoka jamii ya wachache.
Beyond financial support, the policy introduces structural reforms in governance, land ownership, and political representation. It mandates affirmative action quotas in public service and public procurement, while also calling for electoral law reforms to guarantee minority representation in parliament as a constitutional requirement rather than a political favor.
Ili kusiwe na mambo ya karata ya pata potea ama guesswork, tuwe na sera ambayo itapitishwa, tumepitisha na katika baraza la mawaziri, na mapema mwaka ujao tutapeleka bunge, ili tuwe na sessional paper ambayo inasema ni vipi wale wachache kati yetu, wale minorities kati yetu watashughulikiwa na serikali ya Kenya.
As the policy takes effect, the government says it marks the beginning of a new chapter, one where the minority and marginalized communities are no longer sidelined but recognized as central to the country's identity. Jacqueline Masharia for Prime Edition.
Thank you, Jackie Masharia, for that report. The National Police Service has mapped out high-risk security areas in the country as Kenyans get into the festive season. Deputy Inspector General of Police Eliud Langat warned criminal gangs of dire consequences, pledging enhanced security surveillance during and after the festivities. He was speaking to reporters in Gong, Kajiado County, after a meeting that brought together provincial police commanders to assess their level of preparedness to handle security and other related issues during the festive season.
The police is this night issuing a stern warning to those involved in criminal activities in various parts of the country. Deputy Inspector General of Police Eliud Lagat says they have signed a plan on how to deal with the criminal.
The financials, the players, we want them to know that there is no space of criminal gangs and goons in this country. So as we move forward, they better desist on these criminal activities.
The police have also mapped out security threat areas in the country, which include social places, places of worship and supermarkets. Lagat further called on the public to ensure they adhere to the traffic rules during this festive season.
We want to ask them to cooperate and to stick to the rules pertaining the traffic, especially areas towards Rift Valley, Kimende, Lari, Sokomjinga, Salga, Gilgil, Timborwa. Likewise, going to Mombasa.
Tilio Marco for Prime Edition.
Elsewhere, one person has died and 5 others are nursing serious injuries after fire broke out at a mattress-making factory in the Makongeni area, Thika town of Kiambu County. The inferno, which started at around 10 this morning, quickly engulfed the plant, making it impossible to salvage anything. Fire engines from Kiambu and Murang'a counties came to contain the situation but had a difficult time, even as calls for the installation of sufficient fire exits in factories to prevent future tragedies.
The mid-morning inferno, whose cause is yet to be established, engulfed the mattress-making factory in Makongeni area, Thika town, Kiambu County. Eyewitnesses recount the incident, which had threatened to spread to adjacent buildings.
Ni mlipuko ililipuka kutoka ndani kutokana na zile pipe za gas za ile mashine, na juu mashine iko na heaters zile za kuchemsha karatasi, iliweza kusambaza moto, iposa moto ikashika kiwanda yote.
Wanatengenezanga pia the mattress na carpet. Sasa kulingana na hiyo vile hiyo gas ilikuja ikalipuka, ndo ilifanya hizi vitu zote zikakuja zika happen hiyo design.
There was little left to salvage, as sources say the fire's intensity was increased by a leaking gas inside the factory. With the fire becoming intense every other minute, Kiambu County Fire Brigade couldn't manage it, necessitating intervention from the neighboring Murang'a County.
Tulitisha usaidizi kwa county government ya Murang'a na pia gari zao zikaja. Kwa hivyo kwa sasa tumeweza kuudhibiti huu moto, 80% tumeweza kuudhibiti moto, lakini tunaendelea.
With the unfortunate incident exposing gaps in fire preparedness within the Thika industrial area, calls are being made for improved emergency response.
Ningetaka kuomba wenye viwanda, ni vyema wawe wakiweka exit ya kwamba kukitokea janga la moto ama hatari yoyote, ili wafanyikazi wa huko wanaweza kupata njia ya kupotelea.
Na watu wa fire tutaongeza adad mingi, lakini vile wameleta maji juu hata mto iko karibu hapa, tuko na adad mingi zimeleta maji, na hiyo maji tumeweza kucontain hiyo fire.
The injured were rushed to different hospitals in Kiambu County for treatment. Yusufar reporting for Prime Edition.
Thank you, Yusufara, for that report. Supreme Court Judge Mohammed Kathar Ibrahim has been laid to rest at Kariakor Muslim Cemetery in Nairobi County. Family members, the legal fraternity and politicians who attended the interment described him as a steadfast guardian of the Constitution, electoral justice and human dignity. Justice Ibrahim passed on Wednesday evening after a long illness. Our reporter Ruth Wamboi has more.
The country was on Wednesday evening thrown into a somber mood following the announcement of the death of Skok Judge Mohammed Ibrahim by Supreme Court President Martha Koome. And on Thursday, family members, friends, and judiciary assembled at Masjid Nur Sauce for Janaza prayers in accordance with Muslim faith before bidding him goodbye at Karioko Muslim Cemetery. Born 69 years ago in Eldoret at Kambia, Somali, Justice Mohamed Ibrahim rose through the ranks in the legal field, breaking the ceiling as the first Somali origin advocate.
Yeye ni mtu mkarimu na pia ni mtu wa kusaidia watu. Kwa hivyo alikuwa na roho mzuri. Kwa familia wote watu walikuwa napende, na kwenye kazi tena alikuwa napendwa.
Kifo chake kimetushtua sana, na ndio njia yetu sote tunamuomba Mwenyezi Mungu amweke pema. Kila mtu atapitia hiyo njia na kupatia familia yake wawe na subra,
kwa sababu tukiangalia upande wa kuwa mambo ya Kiislamu ametusaidia mambo mengi ambapo kwamba hata kusema itakuwa ni, unajua kuna mambo mengine mtu akifanya anafanya kwa yeye na Mwenyezi Mungu.
Former Chief Justice David Maraga, who was among the leaders who attended the burial rituals, described him as a diligent judge who never tolerated anything to do with graft.
I can confirm and I can say that without any fear of contradiction, Justice Ibrahim was one man who never tolerated anything to do with corruption. So we have lost one of the most brilliant minds in this country, somebody who has served this country with dedication. You remember even went to detention because he was defending those who were urging for the constitutional reform.
Always urging that nothing should be simply bigger than the value of human life.
He will be remembered for his role in institutional reforms, jurisprudential leadership, and his contribution to advancing access to justice in Kenya.
In this country, in particular in the judiciary, we had 10 of Ibrahim's caliber. This country will be corruption-free. May the Almighty Lord rest my good friend Ibrahim in eternal peace.
We did the first application for bail after the new constitution came in. Justice Ibrahim, in the celebrated case of Mugunya versus the Republic, which is now a precedent in cases, said that you cannot take fundamental rights lightly. They belong to the people, and you can never take them lightly.
Justice Ibrahim was appointed to the Supreme Court of Kenya on June 16, 2011, becoming one of the court's founding judges following the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution. The final resting place of the Skok Judge Mohamed Ibrahim ended here with the mourners who attended the burial rites, describing him as a straight man who stood by the right side of justice. Ruth Wamboi reporting from Karioko Cemetery in Nairobi.
On politics, where leaders across the political divide are calling for patience as investigations into the death of former Lugari Member of Parliament Cyrus Jirongo continues. This comes as burial preparations slated for Tuesday, 30th December, continue. Aaron Marie has the details.
A heavy mood hangs over the Jirongo family residence in Nairobi, with mourners streaming in to offer condolences. This as Fred Gumo-led Nairobi Funeral Committee announced the burial arrangement.
Kutoka hapa tumefanya makomiti, watu wametusaidia, wale watu wametusaidia kidogo kidogo, ikiwamo rais mwenyewe, na kufika siku ya tarehe 27 tutatoa mwili wa Cyrus tupeleke kanisani pale Setam Valley Road. Kutoka hapo tutaleta mwili wake hapa, italala hapa nyumbani. Kesho yake tutaondoka na ndege mpaka Kitale. Mwili wake utalala Kitale mpaka tarehe 29. Tutakuwa na maombi pale, alafu tarehe 29 tutaondoka tuende Lugari. Watu wote watakuja hapo, maombi itakuwa pale, atalala pale mpaka kesho yake ndio atazikwa tarehe 30.
The burial committee says coordination is ongoing both in Nairobi and Bungoma to ensure a dignified send-off with logistic, security and transport arrangement are being finalized.
Na mimi nitawahakikishia kwamba hali ya usalama iko shwari licha kuwa na shughuli ya kusherekea muhula huu. Usalama iko shwari katika gatuzi letu.
Leaders who have visited the family have described Jirongo as a unifying figure whose death has deeply affected the western region and the nation at large.
Tunasema waje kuomboleza kwa amani. We want to give the late CJ a befitting send-off.
So family pole, tutasimama na nyinyi na chochote. Mimi niko Lugari pale kama jirani, nitashirikiana na mama Kaneni, Christine na Ann ili we give Jirongo a befitting send-off.
Even as burial plans take shape, calls for calm continue as investigation into the circumstances surrounding Jirongo's death get underway.
We want to know what happened between the circumstances surrounding Jirongo's death in Naivasha. Sisi kama watu wa nation ya Kenya na pia Waluhya tumefanya nini? Tumepoteza. Haswa sisi pia bawabu amekuwa ametushikilia mkono.
Labour leaders have echoed their appeal, warning political figures against drawing premature conclusions. The late Cyrus Jirongo will be laid to rest on Tuesday, 30th December at his home in Tuti Village, Kandui constituency, Bungoma County, as leaders urge residents to stand with the family during the send-off. Reporting for Prime Edition, I'm Aaron Marie.
Thank you, Aaron Marie, for that report. And of course, you're taking us to our first break. You're watching the Prime Edition. Remember, we are having our big interview on location from the Makongeni Affordable Housing Project. John Jacob Kere will be joining us for more insight on phase 2 of this project. My name is O'Brien Kimani. We are taking a quick break, and thereafter, we're coming back with more stories.
Time ago, and for me, no one comes back from the dead.
Magdalena, don't do this.
Warning you to not dare get in any trouble or take advantage of your stay in the factory to get between Lucia and Marcelo. Are you seriously interested in Mario Hernandez?
Lea Premium Flour, nurturing the world. Available in a store near you.
This is the Prime Edition. Welcome to the broadcast. Fans, friends and family members of the former head of Mayenga FM station, Festus John Amimo Ongudi, thronged Awasi's parish, St. John's Apostolic Catholic Church, to pay their last respect ahead of his burial on Friday 19th. During the Requiem Mass, Amimo was hailed as a God-fearing servant who stopped at nothing when facilitating God's work. Achola Simon has more details.
The body of popular head of Mayenga FM and morning show host Festus John Ongudi Amimo has arrived in his Awasi home ahead of his burial on Friday. The hearse bearing the remains of the former presenter was escorted by emotional fans as it snaked through Awasi town to St. John's Apostolic Catholic Church in Awasi Parish for a Requiem Mass.
I'm just here to give thanks to every person who participated. Marimu ya Kelwu Idala. I want to thank our church, Awasi. I want to thank St. Martha, Jumuiya Marawasi.
He was hailed as a dedicated Christian who would stop at nothing in ensuring the word of God is spread to all and sundry.
My brothers and sisters, we must also lay our lives to love God and love one another and make peace with each other. In the book of Hebrews chapter 12, verse 14, pursue peace with everyone and to live in righteousness, without which no one will ever see the face of God the Father.
Members of the public got an opportunity to view his body before he was carted away.
Amimo's contribution to KBC and the country at large has impacted positively to many, many families. I personally know of many families that Amimo supported individually and also with his influence for their schools' education, for their churches' growth, and even for our community as a Luo community.
Amimo died a fortnight ago and leaves behind a widow and 3 children. Achola Simon, Prime Edition, Kisumu County.
And of course, it is a big loss to the family, the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, and indeed the country. Fly with the angels, Festive Amimo. 4 people aboard a border rider and his 3 pillion passengers died on the spot Wednesday night after a truck rammed into their motorcycle at Kajiado Courthouse along the BC Kajiado-Namanga Highway. The truck driver fled after the grisly accident. Cases of road accidents continue to rise across the country, prompting the National Transport and Safety Authority to issue fresh calls to motorists to exercise caution, especially during this festive season.
4 lives were cut short in a fatal road accident that occurred Wednesday night in Kajiado town. The victims, a bodaboda operator and 3 passengers, died on the spot after they were hit by a truck near the Kajiado Courthouse along the Namanga Highway.
Kwa kweli mioyo yetu tuna machungu, tuna masikitiko. Tumepatwa na mambo haya kwa ghafla sana.
Tunasikitika sana kama sekta ya pikipiki kwa kupoteza ndugu yetu mmoja ambaye ni memba wetu jana usiku katika ajali iliyotokea hapa Kajiado. Ningependa tu kuhamasisha ama kusihi watu wetu wa pikipiki, haswa hii wakati wa festive season. Ajali tunashuhudia ni mingi sana zinatendeka, lakini mimi ningeomba ya kwamba tuwe waangalifu barabarani.
The truck driver fled the scene immediately after the accident and is currently being sought by police. Police have since removed the bodies and taken them to the Kajiado Referral Hospital mortuary, where they are awaiting autopsy as investigations into the incidents continue. The accident adds to the growing number of road crashes being recorded across the country as the festive season approaches. The National Transport and Safety Authority, together with other stakeholders, in a 3-day road safety campaign in Kitui County, spearheaded by the County Ministry of Roads, intensified road safety awareness campaigns on major highways.
Operesheni ile tulikuwa nayo ni fika salama uwai kwanza. Kuhamasisha wananchi vile wanapaswa kujitunza wakati huu wa msimu wa sikukuu ya Christmas na mwaka mpya.
Warsha ambayo imeangazia sana wale watumizi wa barabara, vile bodaboda, tumewahimiza sana waangalie usalama wao na usalama wale watumiaji wengine wa barabara na abiria ambao wanasafirisha kutoka sehemu mbalimbali, manake wao ndio the last mile connection. Watu wakitoka sehemu mbalimbali katika kuja sherehe hizi, bodaboda ndio wanawakaribisha na kuwafikisha manyumbani kwao.
Even as authorities push for safer roads, matatu operators in Narok County have raised concerns over what they describe as stringent and disruptive inspections by NTSA officers.
Watu wanaleta kwa barabara, hiyo haifai hata kidogo. Juu gari iko na mambo yote, imefanywa inspection na NTSA. Sasa wakileta koti kwa barabara, wanatatiza abiria, madereva, wanatatiza kila shughuli.
The operators are now urging NTSA to work closely with matatu SACCOs and to apply enforcement measures fairly across all road users. As travel increases during the festive season, the challenge remains balancing enforcement and cooperation with the safety of road users taking priority. Doreen Arange for Prime Edition.
But good, you're watching the Prime Edition, and of course tonight, as I told you, we should be having our big conversation tonight. And where it's happening is at the phase 2 of the Mukuru Kwajenga Affordable Housing Project. Now, this is one of the signature affordable housing projects by the government, and it seeks to construct modern houses and of course elevate the face of Mukuru Kwanjenga. John Jacob Kiore is our reporter. He's on standby now with the chair of the Affordable Housing Board, and they're going to discuss the way forward, of course, and the redevelopment of Mukuru Kwanjenga. John Jacob Kiore, if you can hear me, what update and insight do you have for us tonight?
Thank you very much, O'Brien. We are live from one of the model houses, actually out of the 4,500, over 4,500 houses handed over to their rightful owners. We are in one of the houses. Actually, President William Ruto was in this house about 1 hour and a half ago. And I want us in a brief way, really, get to speak to the chairperson of the Affordable Housing Board. That is Jerry Simo, who joins us on set. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. It's been a very busy day, obviously, after preparing for so long. And this day has come, and the president has handed over these houses to the rightful owners. But I want us to begin from the perspective of describing the problem so that people understand where the president is coming from when he insists on the affordable housing agenda. Chair.
And thank you, James. Like you said, my name is Jerry Simu, and I'm the chairperson of the Affordable Housing Board. And you've just said that the president interviewed one of the recipients of this home. Actually, her name is Gertrude. Gertrude earns about anywhere just under 20,000 shillings a month. And if you think about the history of Kenya, to have someone earning under 20,000 shillings, having an opportunity to buy a home, because she was paying rent where she was coming from. It's not that she was not paying rent. And the figure that she stated that she was paying was 3,500 shillings a month, but it was in Maragweni slum. So in Maragweni slum, what are you doing? You're paying for water, you're paying, you buy water in a jerrycan, you're paying to use a toilet, and you're paying for everything else kidogo kidogo, which ends up being a lot more than you'd ever been able to do. So the challenge we have is people with small incomes being able to have an opportunity to own a home. And that is what this affordable housing program is solving. If you think about in 1965, Kenya established the National Housing Corporation. If you look at the constitutive documents for National Housing Corporation, it wasn't very different to the establishment documents in, say, Malaysia, in Singapore. The main difference that between us and those countries who have been able to address the housing challenge, because there is no developed country that has been able to develop without addressing the housing challenge. The main challenge has been a financing issue. A financing issue to have a stable form of capital, because today property developers will simply, if you ask them to take a risk on people earning anywhere below 60, 100,000 shillings and below, forget even 20,000 shillings and below, that's not a market they would face. So they simply do not subscribe or build for that market. So that's why you find over the years there has been proliferation of slums, and if about 60 to 70% of urban areas, of urbanites in Kenya actually live in slums and informal settlements. And if we look at Nairobi alone, the slums occupy about 6% of the land mass, but then are housing the majority of people, and that is why they're having to live in a very undignified manner. So this is a problem that stems back from as far back as independence. In 1966, we adopted a national housing policy, which also looked to address the same challenge. If you look at our Vision 2030 in 2008, it was very clear that we need to address the housing challenge, we need to build 200,000 units per year. And that was in 2008. Come to 2017, the World Bank did a study that is accessible to the public, and it was called an available and unattainable. And in this report, this was in 2017, there was a housing deficit of 2 million units at the time, and an annual growing deficit of 200,000 units per annum. So 2017, add a couple of years, that hole is even deeper in terms of where we are in terms of the housing deficit. So that is why the administration of His Excellency, the President William Ruto, not only was looking at addressing, because we are all alive to the fact that there is an affordable housing crisis in Kenya. But in addition to addressing an affordable housing crisis, if you look at the value chain of housing, which starts with the conceptualization of a project, which means you need to have realtors, you need to have architects, you need to have people who will conceive the project. To then you move to the construction site, and on the construction site, there are jobs that start in the quarry. There's logistics. There's logistics to the site, to the housing site, and then on the housing site, there are jobs that are on site. So, and then off-site, there are jobs that are also being produced. So the housing value chain, in basically, if you were to say, for every unit you almost can have 3 jobs. But that's on-site jobs. So the vision of the administration and the president is that beyond the on-site jobs and the jobs that will be eventually be done off-site, because the manufacturing is going to move from import to local, because at the moment there's still certain industries, 70% of the inputs into a house currently are all coming, 70 to 80% are all local. And then there's a few that are not necessarily being produced, like lifts. But the very clear plan is to move those jobs from offshore to come onshore, and eventually Kenya will be exporting that skill, and from Kenya we will be exporting to the neighboring region. So this is a plan, and it is a very comprehensive plan to address a housing deficit, to address an employment issue, and to create wealth for Kenyans.
All right. Let's talk about today, because more than 4,500 units have been handed over to their rightful owners. These are largely bed-sitters. The question is, after this official handover by the president, what happens next? When do they start to occupy these houses?
So, and you'll allow me to take you back a bit, because in May, on the 20th of May, the president came and he handed over 1,080 units, which was the first court within this new Mukuru estate. Then today is another historic day, where another 4,536 units have been allocated to homeowners, and we now have 5,616 new homeowners in Maruguni. And if you think about it for a second, James. John. I beg my pardon. These majority of the new homeowners moving in today have come from the informal settlement next door. Who would ever have imagined that would have happened in the history of Kenya? So they're now new homeowners. Through this plan, just by home ownership to these new families, that is a transfer of about 3.5 billion shillings of wealth to these families and individuals. So they have now own an asset, and coming from Islam, and so that is the beginning of transformation of their lives, to move into dignified living and move into a community. As you've seen, the facilities here have sports facilities. Behind here, you've seen the basketball court. There's ECD. There's a primary school. There's a fire station. There's a police station. There's a level 4 hospital. And there's lots of green space. So that's about the new Mukuru development. Now, so today we've got new homeowners. and they're in the process of moving in. So all of them have signed offer letters. Now, next step, of course, is they're just concluding on signing their agreement, but they have signed their offer letters, they're homeowners, and they start moving in. As you can see, the facilities are ready, and you've had the opportunity to walk around. The facilities are ready, so they'll be moving in as soon as they have been facilitated to be able to move from the slum to, if you're enumerated, they have also been facilitated to come into this new development. So they're just preparing themselves to come across.
Okay.
So today is the beginning of a change of their lives, and as you can see, we have given them an opportunity to live in this development.
There's a critical question here, Chair, because as you say, it's a mass movement of people from this slum that has been called Mukuru into this new development that gives them dignity in terms of living. The big question is, what happens to the slum? So much so that then, that the person staying here doesn't slump back to go back to the slum. The idea is to finish completely the slum.
So, if you speak to a number of the residents who are the new homeowners, and they have taken this opportunity to become new homeowners, none of them ever want to go back to the slum. None of them ever want, once they have seen the facilities they have, you don't even have piped gas where you live. They have piped gas, they have got internet. So none of them, when you speak to them, and I welcome you to, you will find none of them ever want to go back. But this is what happens. The process of home ownership starts with enumeration in the informal settlement and in the slum. So the persons who you're seeing here today are the ones who are coming from the slum, have been enumerated, and that's where the process started. And that process is a collaborative effort with the Kenya Slum Upgrading team, which is housed within the Housing and Urban Development Department. And that team then enumerate, and then they get given a timeline. Once these houses are constructed, then they move out. Now, a number of the residents who are staying here are coming from an area called Sepu. Sepu is 12 acres of government land in the slum. Starting this weekend, tomorrow, what happens is they have started moving out voluntarily, because it's no longer a story, it is believable. The houses are under construction. So they will exit, and then that 12 acre will be, it will be cordoned off, and then the construction on that 12 acres, which will put up approximately 5,000 new units in that.
Another project in
Sepu, on government land. So as you know, this area is it's got a mixture of government land, private land, and but we start with the government land because it's land that we can take over and start the development. And then because these days you can densify, as you've seen in other jurisdictions and in other countries, then it's easy to go up. If you think about Buruburu was, I think, 5,000 units. It was a fantastic development in the late 70s. It took 10 years to complete 5,000 units on about 400 acres. You can't afford to do that anymore, because with an urbanization rate of one of the highest in the world, of going just shy of 5%, you're finding that you simply do not have the luxury of building as you did the maisonettes. So what has been achieved here in 2.5 years, and building what would be at the end 13,248 units, will be able to house about 60,000 families and homeowners. So it is, and I'll just share with you. We will have a population well over 70 million 20 years from now, in the year 2045. So you cannot wait, and no government that wants to develop can't wait till then to decide, especially when we know the future is urban. Over 50% of Kenyans will be living in urban areas. So you can't wait. So that is why the administration is fixing this problem now and not waiting, because that would be a time bomb that is just ticking and waiting to happen. So those issues have to be addressed today, and we are also addressing the affordability. Thank you.
We are almost winding up. Very quickly, in less than a minute.
Yes.
The phase 3
Yes.
Because there are 2-bedroom units and 3-bedroom units in this very same place.
Yes.
When do we expect the handover or completion of the units?
Yes. So, we've just finished the bed sitters. We'll have the 1 rooms that will be completing just before June next year, and then the 2 bedrooms that will be completing shortly after. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
We're taking a short breather and then come back shortly, probably to wind it up.
Okay.
Okay.
We bana, wachana na simu, si utatuangusha.
Pore madam, naekelea kabet, lazima niomoke leo.
Bet unaekelea mpaka ukipeleka nduthi, beta hizi ngoja.
Nimejaribu kuacha, nimejikuta naekelea. Imeni-affect kiasi.
Hapana, uko na shida. Chukua control, know your limits.
Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na Association of Gaming Operators Kenya kwa ushirikiano na Gambling Regulatory Authority. Mchezo huu unaweza kuleta uraibu. Chukua control, cheza kistaarabu. Ni kwa walio zaidi ya miaka 18.
Joy to the world. The Lord is come.
Yesu amezaliwa. Yesu amezaliwa.
The holiday season is here again. It's family time.
Tunaanguka nayo.
Oh yes, it's a season to be jolly. And so, grab a seat, relax as your favorite Christmas hosts line up to indulge you this year.
It's about to go down.
There's a lot of food and drinks to go around.
It's delicious.
Great music for the soul. It's unbeatable. It's joyous. It's Christmas on KBC Channel 1.
Before the end of the year.
All right, we're back right here at the Mukuru Affordable Housing site, and these houses have already been handed to their rightful owners. Over 4,500 bed-sitter units to the respective owners. The whole concept encompasses a situation where, by the end of the completion of the entire project, you have more than 60,000 families living in this compound. And I'm still here with the chairperson of the Affordable Housing Board, that is Jerry Isimu. I rushed you on the last point that you were making, so kindly, let's retake it again regarding the completion of the remaining units, particularly the 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom units, for those who might feel they don't fit in into these bed-sitter units.
And it's a very good point because we have had the fact that people were living in an informal settlement or a slum. It doesn't always mean that they also don't have the means, So a number of the future occupants, because people are applying for these units even when they're under construction. So a number of them, even though they like what they see as far as these bed-sitters are concerned, for their own reasons are now, and they're really waiting. And in fact, the number of calls we get, because a number of them actually can't wait to move in. So we have the 1-bedroom units that are going to be complete in April next year. So we can expect another similar type of event like today and a celebration. And then we will have there's the 2 bedrooms, which will then be complete closer towards the end of the year, but certainly before the end of the year, so that then we'll have the complete development of 13,248 new homeowners in this development here and living before the end of next year. But the next phase, April 2026, and then towards the end of the year, 2 bedrooms will then be occupied. But the application, and the important for the audience, it's important that because we created an entry point, which is the window into how you can purchase these homes. And there is really only one way. You don't need to know me. You go to bomayangu.go.ke or *832# and register. You then apply for where you want, and in this case, it would be New Mukuru Estate. And then you choose the typology that you want, because now the bed sitters are complete. It's the 1 bedroom and the 2 bedroom. And then you start your application process, and it's very simple. All you need is your ID. Then you need to attach your PIN certificate, your tax compliance certificate, and then you just basically demonstrate that you're also able to pay for the unit. But there is a waiting list, so it's important that people continue. It's first come, first serve, and that is why we wanted a very transparent process. First come, first serve, and if you are enumerated and you had come from the slum or the informal settlement, then you come with that enumeration card, and again it'll be on a first come, first serve. You upload your documents, you'll be allocated by the board, and it's a transparent process.
All right. Yeah. As we wrap this up, it's probably important that you emphasize it, and because I think there's something really that Kenyans really don't understand, and not so many of them do, the fairness of a process, particularly the 1 ID, 1 house.
Yes. Yeah. So it is 1 unit, 1 ID. As it is a tax, these houses are available with the exception of anyone earning 20,000 shillings and below. Those units are reserved strictly for the income earners of 20,000 shillings and below. Because of course the units are limited, so we do not want cannibalization from high income earners to the social. But it is 1 unit, 1 ID. Go to bomayangu.go.ke, apply for the development that you want, and it is first come, first serve.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jerry, for joining us tonight.
Asante.
I mean, congratulations. You're doing a good job.
Asante.
And we hope, of course, you will be able to continue and enrich the legacy of housing in the country. That's how we put a cap on the interview tonight. I want to take you back to Broadcasting House. You also need to wrap it up here. It's been a long, long day. Good night.
Thank you.
Je, wewe ni mpenda soka? Na je, wajua kuwa KBC mwenzio wako wa dhati michezoni anakujali? Ndio maana KBC Channel 1 hukuletea taarifa na uchambuzi wa soka.
CAF ndio wamechukua usukani
humu nchini, barani Afrika na ugaibuni, ikiwemo EPL, Serie A, Bundesliga na ligi zingine. Mashabiki pia hutuzwa kwa kujibu maswali kuhusiana na soka.
Swali letu la leo.
Haya yote ni kwenye kipindi cha Dunda Dunda kwenye KBC Channel 1 kila Ijumaa kuanzia saa 5 asubuhi hadi saa 6:30 mchana.
Nawahimiza Wakenya waendelee ku watch Dunda Dunda show.
KBC, wenzio wa dhati michezoni.
Thank you, John Jacob Curie, with that interview with the chair of Affordable Housing Board, Jeremiah Simu, of course, on the status of Mukuru kwa Jenga Affordable Housing Project and, of course, the future planned project. A family in Gashie, Kiamba constituency, Kiambu County, is appealing for financial support from well-wishers to raise funds to clear a 5 million shillings medical bill at Kenyatta University Referral Hospital. The family's ordeal began after Maureen Wamboi was admitted to the hospital where she underwent treatment for stomach-related complications for 3 months. She unfortunately passed away, and the body is yet to be released for burial 3 months later.
At Gachie village in Kiambu County, friends and family of the late Maureen Wamboi have been preparing her burial in what seems indefinitely.
After alikaa kama mwezi na wiki mbili, Maureen akaanza kuwa, saa daktari wanasema aende angaliwe vipimo zote za mwili. Vile alipelekwa MRI kasema kuna ugonjwa ni mingi sana kwa Maureen kwa mwili. Sasa ikawa Maureen akaambiwa baka tu atakaa huko akitibiwa. Alikaa kwa miezi 2.5 kama anatibiwa. Ilifika mwisho Maureen alishindwa na kukaza safari ya hii dunia.
For the last 3 months, her body has been lying at Kenyatta University Referral Hospital mortuary owing to unpaid medical bill amounting to 5 million shillings. According to Maureen's sister, Nancy Nyambura, they have made numerous attempts to raise the money through community contributions and online fundraising platforms without success.
So tumeenda baka KU na pesa yenye tulipata kwa harambee wakasema hiyo bado ni kidogo, tuongezee kuzi pesa yake huyu msichana inafaa kuwa 5 million. So kwa hiyo yote tumefanya, tumengangana, tumeshindwa. Hata ni kama watu walichoka hii safari juu tulijaribu kuchanga nini ikawa saa ni kama hatuna usaidizi kwa wabaka kwa majirani.
The grieving family says that if no help is forthcoming, they may be forced to hold prayers at the Kenyatta University mortuary and leave the body there as they can no longer cope with the emotional and financial strain. The family is now appealing to the government and well-wishers to help raise the funds.
Imagine mtoto wako amelala kwa mochari, amelala hospitali. Sina jinsi ya kusaidia mtoto wangu. Naweza tu omba governor wetu wa Matangi na atusikize tu. Kwa hisani sisi ndio tulimchagua. Tunaomba tu atusikize wakiwa na Kawanjiko pamoja na huyu MCA wetu. Wasaidie hii familia. Angarau tu tuzike huyu mtoto wetu.
Siko kazi na watoto watima wengine. Niko na hawa sasa wengine wa mtoto wa sistangu. So na unaona hapa ni kwa kanisa tumepewa. So wote sisi tuko hapa. Tuna uwezo.
Maureen, who was a small-scale shoe vendor, was the sole breadwinner of her family. She left behind her 2 children aged 5 and 6 years. Kasi Namasha, Prime Edition.
Well, let's now move to the counties where the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has called on public officers, youth and residents of Garissa County to embrace transparency and integrity as a way of fighting corruption. The appeal was made during an education and public sensitization outreach focusing on ethical leadership, accountability and corruption prevention. Here is Ian Nzive with our County News Roundup.
We have interacted with them. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has intensified anti-corruption awareness efforts in Garissa County, urging residents and public officers to embrace integrity and accountability. The sensitization campaign focused on promoting ethical leadership, transparency and corruption prevention across government and community spaces.
We need to equip them with the necessary skills and prepare them for good governance and leadership in this country. Similarly, we are not leaving out the public officers.
Elsewhere in Isiolo County, pastoralist women in Meti have adopted horticulture farming to improve household nutrition and prevent malnutrition within their communities.
Hiyo mradi sasa imesaidia wamama, at least wameweza kupata the recommended number of food groups wanafaa wakule wao na pia watoto wao. Before tulikuwa na watoto wenye walikuwa kwa program ya malnutrition ambao walikuwa 3 before tuanze hii program ya shamba. So hao watoto pia waliweza at least kupata zile food groups.
Meanwhile, in Kericho County, members of the public flocked to Huru Gardens for the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority Forum to trace unclaimed assets worth billions in banks, shares and dividends.
The core mandate of this organization is number 1, to receive all unclaimed financial assets. Not all assets, all unclaimed financial assets. That is from shares to the dividends, to the bank accounts, to the deposits, to the cash bills sometimes you place in banks, even to the unclaimed safe boxes.
And in Kiambu County, Gatundu North residents welcomed the opening of the new Kamwangi Land Registry, ending years of long travel for land services.
Kuletoa hizi ofisi hapa tumesaidika sana, sababu sasa hatutakuwa tunatembea huko na huko, tutakuwa tunakuja hapa asubuhi, tunamaliziwa asubuhi, tunarudi kwa kazi yetu mashambani.
In Kericho County, Gideon Kipngeno, a resident of Kiboito in Belgut, received a 4-roomed house from woman rep Beatrice Kemei under the Usawa kwa Wote program. Funded by the National Government Affirmative Action Fund, the initiative has built over 20 houses for the needy.
We get 42 million in a year, and this 42 million goes to bursaries and scholarships. It goes to county-wide projects. It goes to women economic empowerment, civic education, and administration.
Ian Zivo for Prime Edition.
10 now to focus on today's news, where Kenya needs dedicated infrastructure funds to accelerate economic growth and close long-standing development gaps. National Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbandi, while defending the government's plan to establish a national infrastructure fund and a sovereign wealth fund, noted that traditional budget financing is no longer sufficient to meet the country's ambitious development targets amid a high public debt burden.
Kenya's growing public debt pressure, currently estimated at 68.8% of GDP, has sharply reduced development spending, limiting the country's ability to invest in critical infrastructure and slowing the pace of economic transformation. National Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi says urgent rethinking of how the country funds development in the face of shrinking fiscal space was necessary.
This National Infrastructure Fund is going to get the initial capitation from the proceeds of privatization and divestiture. We are targeting about 600 billion shillings. Already we have identified over 300 billion shillings from KBC and divestiture of Safaricom alone. That will give us close to 350, or at minimum 300, maybe and 20.
Mbadi says the infrastructure fund will blend public resources with private sector capital, focusing on commercially viable investments in roads, energy, water and irrigation.
It is a government-owned enterprise. Only that it is going to be commercially run. Only that it is going to be professionally run. Not like any other parastatals that we form and we bring politicians. In fact, in that fund, the board, we are saying if you have been in politics for the last 5 years, you will not be a board member.
Returns generated from these projects will be reinvested to support future infrastructure development.
This fund will blend their resources with the private sector. They will tell you, okay, there is a project here. This road is supposed to be done. It will be designed. This fund will be a professional institution that has people to design even projects and tell you this is the costing, this is how we are going to make money out of it, and from this you can invest, and investors will say this is a worthwhile investment.
The Cabinet Secretary was speaking in his office as he received a report from university student leaders and the newly launched National Students Budget Forum, which outlines youth priorities in public finance management. Trevor Ngindo for Prime Edition.
Elsewhere, the Kenya Flour Council is calling on the government to urgently settle VAT refunds and review the multiple levies to improve cash flow for flour growers. The Kenya Flour Council Chief Executive Officer Clement Tulezi says this will ensure the increase in number of smallholder farmers exporting flours strengthens competitiveness and boosts rural household incomes.
The flour industry contributes about 1.6% to the country's GDP, nearly 20% of Kenya's export earnings, and supports over 2 million livelihoods. In 2024, cut flour export earnings reached 108 billion shillings. However, the horticulture value chain has been riddled with a tough economic environment and reduced consumer purchasing power globally, slowing down the industry's potential to grow exports beyond $1.4 billion by 2030.
Despite all the potential that I've talked about, this sector faces policy taxation and also liquidity challenges threatening long-term growth. We pay over 50 levies and taxes and other charges every year, creating unpredictable and highly operational inefficiency and costs.
To address some of the challenges, the Kenya Flour Council wants the government to fast-track settlement of verified VAT refunds, remove refund caps for large exporters, and allow VAT offsets against other tax obligations.
Today we have a huge backlog, as I mentioned, of about 12 billion. We are suggesting that there must be a removal of refund caps for larger exporters on VAT refunds.
Tulezi says the Kenya Flour Council is leveraging smallholder growers who have recently gained entry into the market by supporting them meet export standards.
We are competing with the giants from South America, and whatever processes they're putting in place to create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive, we have examples that we can copy from them and implement in Kenya.
He says there is growth in participation by small and medium-scale growers, particularly women and youth, across counties including Nakuru, Laikipia, Kiambu, Meru, Uasin Gishu, and Nyandarua. Ndutamokami for Prime Edition.
Airtel has entered into an agreement with SpaceX to introduce Starlink direct-to-cell satellite connectivity across all the 14 African countries where it operates. Under the partnership, Airtel subscribers using compatible smartphones will access network connectivity via Starlink satellite in locations where terrestrial mobile coverage is unavailable.
Airtel becomes the first mobile network operator in Africa to offer Starlink direct-to-cell services. The milestone follows an agreement between Airtel Africa and SpaceX that will see Starlink satellite-to-mobile technology integrated into Airtel's network across all its 14 African markets, which collectively serve about 174 million subscribers. The partnership was driven by the persistent challenge of extending reliable mobile coverage to sparsely populated and hard-to-reach areas where rolling out conventional terrestrial infrastructure is often costly and technically difficult. The service is expected to begin in 2026 with data speeds expected to be up to 20 times faster than current satellite-to-mobile capabilities. Airtel Africa and Starlink say they will continue exploring additional areas of collaboration as part of broader efforts to bridge the digital divide and accelerate digital inclusion across the continent. Trevor Ngendo for Prime Edition.
Thank you, Trevor Ngendo, for that report. Sugarcane production in the country is taking a new turn with the adoption of new tissue culture sugarcane seed varieties. Crevation International, in collaboration with Chinese investors, have introduced 2 new sugarcane varieties designed to ensure early maturity, drought and disease resistance and high sucrose content to boost farmers' incomes.
With the average sugarcane production in Kenya standing at approximately 60.52 tons per hectare, far below the potential yield of between 90 and 150 tons per hectare, efforts are underway to improve productivity through innovation. With approval from the Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service, Liu and his team leased 50 acres of land in May 2022 in the Kambiamoto area Rongai constituency, Nakuru County, to showcase the performance of the new sugarcane varieties.
I'm so proud to introduce this golden fruit sugarcane. Each acre can plant 6,000 seedlings. Each seedling can propagate about 20 to 30 stems.
The trials involved 2 varieties, which include Golden Fruit 2, which is being developed for industrial sugar production, and Golden Fruit 1, intended for the manufacturing of sugarcane juice.
Once it gets mature, it's going to be a yellow color, more yellow than this one. So it is yellow, similar to gold. Also, the value of the sugarcane. The sweetness is about 18% sucrose, and yielding about 60 tons per acre.
Liu reveals that the improved seed varieties whose technology originates from China mature within 7 to 10 months compared to the most varieties in the local markets that take between 18 to 24 months.
These varieties will get mature for harvest in 7 to 10 months. So the farmers will get cash in 10 within 10 months, compared with the previous 18 to 24 months.
The agripreneur further notes that the new varieties offer increased sucrose content and higher overall yields, enhancing profitability for farmers in key sugar-growing regions. Trials have established that the Golden Fruit 2 variety contains up to 80% juice content, while the Golden Fruit 1 variety up to 15 tons of refined sugar from 100 tons of sugarcane, attributed to at least 50% higher sucrose levels than traditional seed varieties.
It has 80% of juice content, which is much higher than any other sugarcane varieties. So this one, it is the best solution to buy, to produce your own table juice.
The varieties are expected to be released to the market in June 2026, subject to be approved by KBC. Sylvia Gatti for Prime Edition.
County budgets must be approved by county assemblies and forwarded by governors by the 1st of July to allow immediate commencement of budget implementation. Controller of Budget Margaret Nyakango says this will ensure appropriation laws are passed in good time.
According to the Office of the Controller of Budget, county assemblies approved total budget of 601.69 billion shillings in the financial year 2024-2025, with 63.6% allocated to recurrent expenditure and 36.4% allocated to development. However, in the 2025-2026 cycle, the Controller of Budget warns that delays in the approval process and weak budgetary control mechanisms might result in reduced capital spending, misaligned priorities, and overall low implementation rates for development projects.
It's not enough for us to complain that Treasury has not released the funds if we do not have a budget which can enable us to absorb those funds. So I'm appealing to the counties to really step up the budget making process so that we have the appropriation acts in good time.
The Controller of Budget, Margaret Nyakango, speaking at the Murang'a County headquarters during the annual monitoring and evaluation visit, also emphasized on the need for counties to prioritize development expenditure, noting that this is key to job creation. While acknowledging improvements in the county performance, Nyakango said the first quarter of 2025-2026 implementation reports show minimal development spending in many counties.
If you check the current first quarter budget implementation report, which is online, you will see that there was very little development expenditure in the first quarter for many of the counties. In fact, over 20 of them had zero in development expenditure.
On procurement, Nyakango defended the electronic procurement system being implemented by the National Treasury, saying efforts are underway to build capacity among users.
The electronic procurement system, the EGPS, is being run by the National Treasury, and I believe there are efforts now to capacity build so that everybody understands. My office included, we also need to start using the process.
Alan Auko, Prime Edition.
Let's now have a look at international business news, where the US President Donald Trump has signed a proclamation expanding the list of countries subject to full or partial entry restrictions to over 40 countries, effective on the 1st of January 2026. Angola, Tanzania, Nigeria, Zambia and Zimbabwe are among African countries affected by the proclamation. Here are the details of these and other international business stories.
U.S. President Donald Trump signed a proclamation expanding and strengthening entry restrictions on nationals from countries with demonstrated persistent and severe deficiencies in screening, vetting and information sharing to protect the nation from national security and public safety threats. The U.S. administration also partially restricted and limited the entry of nationals from 7 countries who also pose a high-level risk to the United States: Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan and Venezuela. The newly signed proclamation adds full restrictions and entry limitations on 5 additional countries based on recent analysis: Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, South Sudan and Syria. It adds partial restrictions and entry limitation on 15 additional countries: Angola, Antigua and Barbuda, Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Dominica, Gabon, the Gambia, Malawi, Mauritania, Nigeria, Senegal, Tanzania, Tonga, Zambia and Zimbabwe. Under the latest policy, the number of countries subject to partial entry restrictions has increased from the previous 20. It also adds full restrictions and entry limitations on individuals holding Palestinian Authority-issued travel documents. The administration also posed full restriction on entry limitation on 2 countries that were previously subject to restrictions, Laos and Sierra Leone.
Tushinde.com. Cheza safe, cheza smart. Gambling is addictive, not for persons under the age of 18 years.
Sasa kwa star 419 hash uko na game mpya. Tushinde spin corner. Simply spin. Kisha ngoja, na kwa entry moja unaweza angukia na uspin hadi mara 3. Na ikigonga 25,000 na kufikia instantly. Cheza spin corner sasa hivi kwa star 419 hash option 4.
Tushinde.com. Cheza safe, cheza smart. Gambling is addictive, not for persons under the age of 18 years.
Very good evening to you. My name is Daniel Wahome and welcome to Prime Edition Sport. The national under-17 girls beach handball team has added a silver medal to the country's growing tally at the 2025 Africa Youth Games in Luanda, Angola. The young Kenyan side narrowly missed out on the title after losing by 2 straight sets to arch rival Senegal in the final at the island of Luanda. Earlier in the competition, Kenya had suffered a shootout defeat to the West Africans and were hoping to avenge that loss in the final. However, the Senegalese proved too strong once again, edging Kenya 13-12 and 15-14 in tightly contested sets. Despite the disappointment, the silver medal represents a major achievement for the team as it also secures Kenya's qualification for the 2026 Youth Olympic Games to be held in Dakar. Meanwhile, Kenya also claimed 2 bronze medals in tennis, that's in the mixed doubles and men's singles, bringing the day's medal haul to 3.
From hapo next championship tutaenda tutajirecollect, tukienda next championship nadhani tuta recruit more players katika team na tutafurahisha Kenya.
Nimekuwa nikisema hapo mbeleni ni kwamba kipaji lazima tuzikuze, na ukiangalia handball sasa katika hao watoto wadogo namna hii na wanachukua silver, basi ninajua kwamba tukifika miaka ingine hapo 2-3 hawa ndio watakuwa viongozi, ndio watakuwa wanaongoza katika huu mchezo.
Okay, I thought Dan Mwendo was doing media duties, but he's the cheerleader for the Africa Youth Games for Team Kenya. All the best. We want another story tomorrow. I hope you haven't lost your voice. Now, the Kenya men's and women's rollball teams delivered spirited performances in the finals of the 7th Rollball World Cup in Dubai, but were forced to settle for silver medals after narrow defeats to India. The Kenyan teams were defending the men's and women's championships prior to this edition.
Kenya women's rollball team was seeking to retain their World Cup title as the 7th edition of the Rollball World Cup came to an end in Dubai. The team trailed by 2 goals before halftime before they bounced back to level the score with 2 goals in the second half. However, India rejuvenated their efforts to reclaim their lead with another goal that saw them win 3-2. In the men's final, Kenya pushed India to the limit in a thrilling high-scoring encounter that ended 11-10 in favor of the Asian giants. The match was marked by end-to-end action, with Kenya mounting a strong late comeback that fell just short as India held on to claim gold. Frederick Mwoki for Prime Edition.
Now, Joe Waithera's first half strike secured a win for Murangasil against reigning champions Kenya Police in a Sports Pes League match that was played today at the Sport Pes Arena in Murang'a County and was live on KBC Channel 1. Murangasil are now 12th on the log with 15 points after 13 matches.
After claiming wins in 2 Premier League clashes in 12 matches this season, Murangasil was seeking to register the third when they played host to reigning champions Kenya Police. Their zeal and resilience saw them blink early as Joe Waithera netted a goal in the 15th minute. The two sides failed to score against one another in the second half, with the lone goal ensuring Murang'a grabbed the 3 important points. In another match, Kariobangi Sharks claimed a 1-0 win over Bidco United, while AFC Leopards beat Ulinzi Stars 2-1. Meanwhile, Ulinzi Stars forward Paul Okoth was named the SportPesa Player of the Month of November after netting 4 goals and 3 assists to help the team secure crucial wins.
Sikuwa na pressure kuperform. Hii season tuna expect ni kuchukua tu hiyo golden boot tena. Yeah.
He was awarded a personalized trophy and 50,000 shillings. Frederick Mwoki for Prime Edition.
The Junior Golf Foundation is set to stage the annual NCBA Kenya Junior Invitational, the biggest and most prestigious tournament on the U.S. kids golf calendar in the country. The 3-day event will run from the 20th to the 22nd of this month at the Windsor Golf Hotel and Country Club. 120 elite junior golfers are expected to compete, with participants drawn from 8 countries, which include Kenya, Uganda, Lithuania, India, Thailand, Norway, Nigeria, and China. This year's invitational carries added importance, with the boys 13 to 14 and 15 to 18-year-old categories and girls 15 to 18-year-old categories, offering players an opportunity to earn world amateur golf ranking points. Past editions of the NCBA US Kids Golf Invitational have announced outstanding junior talent, with several former participants progressing to compete and win at regional and international amateur championships.
Today was not my best and I could have played much better, but I ended the season with a really good finish.
Today I didn't play the way I'd hoped to, but it was still a good round and I'm still proud of myself. I had a few bad holes that did let me down, but as well as that, I had some really good holes. I played really well on the back 9, but just didn't end as strong as I had hoped to. Oh.
And the NN running team, a sports partnership foundation with Kenya's Eliud Kipchoge, has announced the transition of partnerships within the team. At the end of 2025, NN Group will change its role from partner to founding partner, with the titled partner set to be announced on the 5th of January 2026. At the end of the year, Ineos will complete its 6-year partnership with the NN running team, whose monumental partnership saw Eliud Kipchoge break the 2-hour barrier at the Ineos 159 Challenge in Vienna, Austria in 2019. After this historic feat, Ineos continued to support the team at large. The partnership focused on athlete support, performance innovation, and knowledge sharing.
140, the unofficial time.
It's his wife.
Eliud Kipchoge storms into the history books in Vienna. 1:59.40, the unofficial time. The first man to run a marathon in under 2 hours. One final lung-busting stride for Kipchoge. One giant leap for human endeavour. And, you know, Kipchoge was here.
7-time Africa Cup of Nations champions Egypt have set their sights on an 8th trophy in the 2025 edition when they commenced their Group E campaign against Zimbabwe in Agadir, Morocco, before facing South Africa and Angola. Let's take a look at Group B of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations.
Group B promises mouth-watering clashes featuring Egypt, South Africa, Angola and Zimbabwe. Egypt are the tournament's most successful side, having triumphed 7 times in 27 AFCON appearances. They won 3 consecutive editions in 2006, 2008, and their most recent one in 2010. The Pharaohs are ranked 3rd in Africa and 34th in the world. South Africa tasted glory in 1996 when they made their first appearance in the tourney, in which they also served as hosts. Since then, they have featured 12 times and are looking forward to starting their campaign on a stronger foot when they face Angola in their Group A opener.
Take it on his own, and it delivers! That is a masterclass from the immortal!
Angola are ranked 18th in Africa and 89th in the world, having made 10 AFCON appearances, with their first coming in 1996. They aim to improve their 2023 quarter-final exit, a feat they also achieved in the 2008 and 2010 editions.
Inside the area, Mabalulu! He's got 3 in the tournament. Angola has 3 in the game. Namibia.
Zimbabwe qualified for AFCON as Group J runners-up and are ranked 36th in Africa and 129th in the world, having featured in AFCON 5 times to exit in the group stage. Sean Muya for Prime Edition.
Across our borders, Manchester City will face holders Newcastle in the Carabao Cup semi-finals after the two teams won their respective quarter-final clashes last night. Ryan Shaki's thunderbolt strike helped Manchester City overcome Brentford by 2-0, while Newcastle United claimed a 2-1 win over Fulham. Chelsea will meet either Arsenal or Crystal Palace in the other two-legged last four tie, with the two set to meet on Tuesday next week.
Yes. Ryan Cherki. We know what a very, very special talent we have here. And Riders plays it into Savinho, and Savinho can dart forward down the left wing. And here he goes, Savinho, taking on, beating his man, deflection, in! It looped up into the air, off the deflection, goes behind the goalkeeper. It's an own goal, or is it a Savinho goal? It might well be given to Savinho.
Share. There's one of those long-range passes in behind Robinson from Murphy. Low cross, Wissa! Johan Wissa, on his first start for Newcastle United, has got his first goal in black and white. BBC Radio Newcastle, and get the black and white view on tonight's game from there. Fulham cross, and Lukic has equalised. Such a simple header, and he was totally free in the middle. Here's the corner. Tonali. Oh, yes! Oh, they've got it! Sandro Tonali's corner, and it's Lewis Miley.
The man who personifies sports news and, of course, giving us a dose of what's happening in our fields. We'll be coming to the tail end of our broadcast tonight. Thank you so very much indeed for joining us tonight. And of course, on behalf of the entire production crew, from producers, camera person, as well as directors, thank you very much indeed for your time. My name is O'Brien Kimani. We'll see you next time around. Have a good night.
For charity, dial star 419 hash.
Nakuona. Kuja hivi sasa. Ona. Man. Baba tu. Let's go, Moja. Buddha. Sijui umedial star 419 hash. Shika. Yaani hujui kwa option 3 kuna Pro Box. Pro Box. Usisahau kwa star 419 hash option 3 iko Pro Box ya bahati. Na ikikuangukia ufunguo utakufikia mahali popote ulipo. Usisahau.
Ana sisi natetemeka mpaka polisi akasema wacha sina anika hii watu kujua kwanza. Sasa sisi akanikwa kwa jua
kama nguo.
Kwa nini unakubali kupepo na kali ya nyama? Wewe ni nyama.
Wewe amka.
Kijana wewe lala. Mtu asikusumbue. Hao watu ambao walipepwa hapo ni wanyama ama ni nyama?
Anapeleka nyama ya binadamu ambaye yuko hai.
Watu si nyama.
Hao watu iko hai. Wewe anabebanga nyama ya wanyama.
Na ndio wewe sasa uliamua kubeba binadamu ambaye iko hai. Na gari iko -1. What did you expect?
I expect them to die.
Yes.
Ala.
Hello good people, this is Save a Life. Tunazidi kubadilisha maisha Kenya nzima. Personally, I'm happy. I also know you are happy. Let's continue in saving lives. Service to humanity is service to God. Kumbuka wale vijana wa Turkana wamerudi nyumbani, they are doing well. The family is happy, the community is happy. I'm also happy. And also know you're also happy. Let's continue in doing this. Ule mama pale Mwihoko, Ruto constituency, Modoni, she's doing well. Amerudi hustle, she's working. Nakumbuka pia after highlighting her story, pia vijana walipata scholarship. And this is what we are doing. And thank you for being part of this amazing initiative.
I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hand. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. 'Cause all my life you were...
Mimi naitwa Dr. Nyamunyamu Oscar Sumba. Mimi ni daktari wa upasuaji rekebishi ama plastic surgeon.
What causes keloids? And mtu akijua anapata keloids, utamwona surgeon. Okay. I'm aware that, I'm prone to keloids.
Okay, so it's a bit of a challenge sometimes to know, unless maybe in your family, like someone has some tendency of forming, these swellings when they get injured, maybe a cut or wakitoboa masikio. So that is one of the ways of maybe getting to know that maybe this runs in the family, okay? But sometimes inaweza tokea spontaneous, ama sporadically, okay? So after a small injury or after piercing the ear, unapata instead of the area pain iishe alafu we heal and then you can don your earrings, unapata maybe inawasha ama unajikuna sana and then inaanza kuswell. I think maybe at that particular point it's good to visit a healthcare professional aweze kuevaluate on what is happening. Is it an infection? Is it a hypertrophic scar? Inatokea ama ni keloid? Okay, so I think if you can detect it early, it can be nice, but it's a bit of a challenge detecting the same.